And you know what they say, when life hands you a teleportation portal to your correct place in the timeline, you pick up your prehistoric axe and you cut off some nerd's head. Or something like that. I can't remember the quote. I'm Anthony.
I'm David.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 164 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. That was a long intro, and then I always write a bunch of them and store them, and I have no idea what comic that was from. So if anybody, this could be a fun trivia. If anybody recognizes that quote from the stack of comics over the last month, write in and let us know so I can remember what that was from. All right. What we're going to do here on this comic club show is lots of things. We have a club discussion. We're going to talk about the crossover issue number 2. And we're going to do weekly reviews, go all around the internet here, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old. And also upcoming in the show, we have a letters page. And the question for everybody here is, it's a brand new year and it's time for resolutions. What resolution would you give a character? So we will talk about that later on in the show. You can start thinking of your answers now, including me, because I did not think about it yet. All right. And also we're going to do a new segment, which we're going to cover the Marvel and DC Comics previews for the items coming out in March 2021 and beyond. And we will close off this show with the Pocket Dimension. We jump into the Pocket Dimension, see what goodies everybody got that's been hiding there to show everybody a little show and tell, if you will, which is a great advertisement for Crimson Cowl Comics on YouTube as well. So if you're an audio listener, you can subscribe to us and watch. You can listen to the audio, and then you can picture how it all worked out and how we all looked and what shirts we were wearing. Then you can watch the video version and see if you were right. Sounds like a great weekend, or whenever the episodes drop. So, all right. So here we go. Let's kick it off with our club discussion for the series called Crossover. This is something that we all talked about in a non-spoiler fashion back in November. Realized we had a couple readers for it, so we ushered it into a club discussion. And so the quick synopsis of kind of the story so far. Back in 2017, there was a big crazy event that happened that basically the world of comic books crossed over into reality, into our reality. We saw this giant splash page of all the colors and comic bookness and stuff kind of explode over the skies of Denver, Colorado. And there was a lot of mayhem and craziness. There were superheroes and villains, lots of deaths, lots of craziness, which resulted in a giant bubble being put over the entire state. And there were some heroes and villains that got out or were outside of it, some that got stuck inside, as well as humans and even innocent people, comic book characters that are like non-superhero characters in the comic book world. They're also part of our reality as well. The story cut to Utah, where we follow a girl named Ellie, or Elle as they call her, and she's wearing a domino mask. She works at what is called the last comic book shop standing, or the last shop in the world or something. And outside of that comic shop, there are a bunch of people. There is a religious group that is protesting on the outside of it, the idea that superheroes should be banned and they're trouble. And inside the comic shop are a bunch of people, basically after a book burning, whatever's kind of left of the comic books. There's a little quick scene with a guy trying to sell some cowboy comics that are kind of comic code approved, if you will. And but they talk about how superheroes, capes and tights were banned. So those are the only books that they care about pre the crossover event. But inside of this is something we didn't talk about to save it for anyone who wanted to read, but we will spoil it now. Inside that shop, somebody who appeared to be possibly shoplifting. Instead, we see this little girl basically colored with these comic book, kind of pulp comic book stylization, pop art type of style. and she's referred to as kind of a freak, and everyone's kind of flipping out. Even the people inside the store are pretty scared of what's going on, and that causes chaos, leading a son of a pastor who is basically having a rough time at home. He is being kind of hounded and provoked by his dad, and he participates in throwing this explosive, this pipe bomb into the comic shop, which blows it up. And we have Ellie, the comic shop worker. We have Otto, the comic shop owner, and the little girl Ellie escape. And she had talked about how she had escaped from something else prior, and she was trying to explain it, and she said she could draw it for them. And we ended the first issue with a drawing of Hope, if you will, a character that may resemble, a Superman outfit, if you will. So that is basically the recap for issue number 1. I don't think I missed anything. I recently just reread it because I was all amped up on it, so I think it's pretty fresh in the brain here. So that was issue 1. Issue 2 came out back in December. Issue 3 is actually out at the time of this recording, but we will just cover issue number 2 here as we catch up with our scheduling issues. So issue number 2, the quick synopsis is basically the fallout of the comic shop blowing up. We have Otto and Ellie and Ava, the little girl, who are kind of just sitting at a safe home at Otto's home. We've got the repercussions of the young boy, Ryan, the son of the pastor, on his actions and what's going to, how he plays into this whole story. That's basically kind of the overview. So we will dive into the issue now. I want to talk about this opening scene here, and I can get some thoughts from everyone else so I can stop my synopsis talking here. It kicks off with a news report that a comic book writer was found dead. And you're thinking, okay, maybe it's going to be somebody named, Steve Smith or something, some generic name. Instead, we find out that Brian K. Vaughan, acclaimed Marvel Comics writer, has been found brutally murdered today in his palatial New York home. And there's an exclusive note at the bottom saying comic book writer found dead, and also the 14th comic book writer to be found dead in the last 3 weeks. Chip Zdarsky, Scott Snyder, and Robert Kirkman still missing.
Okay,
so,
I'll talk about this.
yes, please.
All right. So, like you, I was also surprised that they used a real world name. I'm assuming this is all in a joke. It's not like Donny Cates anything against these guys. I was surprised because I'm like, Marvel writer Brian K. Vaughan? Because I know Brian K. Vaughan from Saga and Why the Last Man and A Walk Through Hell, which are published by Image. So I was surprised. That was interesting and funny, incidentally, because I'm talking about Brian K. Vaughan later today. So that was very interesting.
And they even joke about that too when they kind of scoff at the idea of being like, oh, they called him a Marvel writer because they're like, oh, the Runaways guy, because he's done, such more monumental things, especially with his own creator-owned stuff. But it's the great headline because no one's gonna, Saga writer or something like that. But you say
right.
Marvel writer.
Yes, and it's interesting because now I want to go see what he did at Marvel. I thought the choice to use real world authors was really cool because it's definitely grounding this universe and making it very contemporary. Just an interesting choice. So yeah, who else has ideas about this?
Well, he's done a lot over at Marvel. If here's a bunch of Runaways stuff. Now, to be fair, he did the first 18 issues, which I think are flawless comic book storytelling. There's a Hulu TV show of Marvel of the Runaways characters that he was involved in as well. But his series that he created spawned into this, and then there's a current series that's going on right now too. But so yeah, he's got a lot of Marvel stuff to check out as well. But yeah, anyways.
Interesting. Oh, I love that. I feel like I learned something because I had I've heard of the Runaways series. You have spoken quite well of it over the years, but I didn't know that he was involved in that. That's very cool. Also, I thought it was very interesting that they chose Marvel because, as they point out later on in the book, Marvel and DC have some amount of weight and relevance in this world. So that was pretty interesting how they're going to interpret that. So something I really like about this, I think there's actually quite a lot of scholarly work to be done on this. And on a day maybe when we're a little deeper into the series, I'd love to talk about that. But the literary implications, and if we look at the history and evolution of modern comics, I think we're going to see a lot of those references and that building up into this book. Like, I'm getting elements very heavily of Watchmen from it. So, and there's a scene in the book straight out of a Spawn comic that Rodney showed us last year. So that's pretty cool. I'm nerding out about it, but someone else should give their impressions of the first few pages.
And just to quick address what you said about, Donny Cates mentioning the real world names and everything. He's definitely made himself a pretty famous writer within the business, but also just being a friend. And he's got a lot of mentors and stuff. And I assume this was all just, these are probably all buddies and things like that, specifically putting those people in there because of that. So, but yeah.
That's good. Not like they're low key on his hit list, because I know there actually have been comic book feuds in the business that then people talked about in the pages. So we'll assume it's all done in friendship. So
yeah, there's a good chance that he absolutely adores every single person he fictionally kills. So, anyone else comments on what's going on here in crossover 2?
I want to talk about the prison page.
Okay.
Now, that little drawing that the girl made kind of resembled our Superman, and then the message that went with it about being hope. But here you look at this page. I just want to pick out how many superheroes and villains or whatever you can recognize.
yeah, agreed.
It's like right in just about the middle, you'll see, seems obviously Batman.
Yeah.
And the one next to him kind of looks like, I would say Wonder Girl rather than Wonder Woman, because she's wearing pants. Although Wonder Woman has worn pants from time to time.
But
This is the Thing.
Yeah, it's and then villain wise, is that either like a Captain Cold, I think, below them there?
Yeah, I thought that was Captain Cold, or possibly
Maybe
Sinestro.
Oh, okay.
But coloring wise, it's hard to tell.
But yeah,
looks like we might have a Flash in there, and
Yeah, so Jim's referring to these kind of testing prison camps thing that are going on, in which they're our Ryan, who is the kid that threw the pipe bomb and blew up the store. He's brought into to meet Special Director Nathaniel Abrams Pendleton, who is a guy that basically equips Nathan with this handgun that has this magic bullet, if you will. A bullet that, let me just read what it says. It is filled with the same kind of juice we use in the power drainers. So these prison camps are kind of draining the powers here of these heroes and villains. It'll put down most any of their kind. And he was basically this officer guy was basically given a tip. He's working with some of the people, and he got a tip, a premonition, if you will, of that this Ryan kid is very important to everything that's happening here. And the narration of the story is dealing with the fact that Ryan, who is in a feud with our main character Ellie, one of our main characters, I guess, that there's an eventual love story with these two. We could definitely see how the starting of that could happen in this issue. But the narrative of the story is kind of, even this issue is saying like, oh shoot, no, I'm way ahead of the story. I should just start with here. We'll see that later. So they're like teasing all of this stuff, and we're actually getting little glimpses of those scenes before we will eventually get to them. But yeah, that's the prison scene there. Kirby, any thoughts on issue 2 here?
Yeah, it's good.
And then
I just
that was
assumed this
not the only
crossover.
prison we talked about. Oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say that was not the only prison we see. Yeah, we know that the superheroes are either locked in the dome or locked in this prison, but there's not the only people that came over. We see this scene where other refugees from the other worlds are being held in concentration camps.
Yeah, so it is revealed
Ordinary
that
people.
Ava, our little girl that we just assume is a regular, she's just a normal girl. Hold on, let me figure out the best way to describe her here. I will say that hold on here.
I can describe her if we spoil.
I'll just describe her as she's just a sweet little girl, as far as we know. But yeah, that when she had talked about that this man of the symbol of hope had saved her, had freed her, they assumed it was freeing from the dome, but she was like, oh no, she's like, because she had never seen the dome until looking at it from the outside. And that's when we start to learn about these refugee camps. And yeah, what Jim had pointed out, we see the difference of, you know, the comic pulpy colorization to these regular characters. And is there a little boy wearing like a Charlie Brown type of sweater there? He's not bald or anything, but he's kind of has like a Charlie Brown sweater. I just noticed, but maybe that's just a coincidence.
I think it's the
I
shadow.
think it's just shadowing, yeah.
Okay. Because hey, maybe we'll see Charlie Brown show up in this series too. I mean, everything's fair game.
I thought that when I first read it too.
And
Is there any
personally,
wanted posters in the book?
yeah, well, I was just gonna say we're dealing with a lot of criminal activity in camps and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see any other crossovers from other related.
First kid has the little mouse nose and the funky rodent ears.
Oh yeah.
His dad has like a Wolverine beard going on there.
Oh yeah, and he's got the flannel. He definitely has that style. Yeah. So yeah, there's
I thought they
definitely
were just dirty.
that might be some slight homage, maybe, but
yeah, that's why I didn't even think about it being Image. I just crossover. I assume they're just crossing DC, Marvel, Image, and a bunch of different over. So
we can talk about that because there was a character that we see a lot in here, or not a lot, but I gotta see if this image is here.
Saying, do we go away the girl's name at all?
The little girl, Ava.
Yeah, are you giving her name away at all?
Oh yeah, we can give everything away. I'm only hesitating because I told Katie before we started the club that I actually couldn't wait, and I read issue 3 digitally. So I am going to stop talking about what I was going to talk about.
All right. Well, when I heard Ava Quinn and I seen her powers and stuff, I figured she was the love child of Superman and Harley Quinn. She's got that dark hair and stuff. And
so yeah, let's talk about Ava. They're kind of talking about Otto is the guy that's kind of threatened by not knowing what she is. Ellie is very protective and thinking she's just innocent, but Ellie has this plan. They're like, well, we have to go and find these camps and find this this hero that Ava speaks about, and he's kind of backpedaling because he's like, all right, it was one thing that we were gonna like try to get into the dome, but now you're going to these camps and just deal. He's just seeing. He's not being very heroic. He's not ready to help in that sense. But while they're all talking out there, or inside the house, Ava is told just to sit on the front. As we've seen a lot of rats kind of running around his house there. He's now taken in 2 refugees because we had a backstory that Ellie, that it was, her parents were basically trapped, and she. I'm trying to think how I want to word this here. We'll say that Otto is kind of housing these 2 people. So while they're there, we see the little girl on the steps into our last page, and what Kirby was mentioning, and I mentioned earlier about being a sweet little girl. Well, we see her eyes lit up, and if you're watching the YouTube video, something happened to one of these rats that is just kind of running around here. Yeah, pretty crazy ending there, and this is one of the reasons being like, all right, Otto was a little cautious about it, but now we know maybe he's not that crazy to be thinking that way. So, but yeah, trying to think if there's anything else we missed here. Any other comments?
Yeah. So looking at the series as a whole, I think that they're going to be very ambitious with that, and I find that really interesting. It definitely makes me want to read book 3 because we've had a lot of exposition and a whole bunch of setup. I don't even think we've hit rising action yet, but there's a lot going on, and I am interested to see if they can pull it off. I do hope they have it planned because it's very ambitious, and I would love to see it succeed. So that's something that really interests me, is how are all these things going to intersect and affect one another. And I just think that's kind of cool. I think if you know a little bit about comics history, it'll really help the enjoyment of reading this book. I think if, looking at me like 2-3 years ago, if I were to just pick this up off the shelf, I'd be like, oh, this is cool, but I wouldn't get all the nuance of it. So this is really a book by comic book fans for other comic book fans, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and to kind of ensure that, it is an ongoing series that Donny Cates had said, and then he is such a long game writer, because I talked about it with King in Black, I think the last time, where, he's so many years into his Venom run. He's the longest Venom writer at the moment, and he's like, oh no, he's like, I pitched this stuff years ago. We're just getting to it now, and we got much more to go. So like, he is such a planner when it comes to that. So to kind of bring up some of those questions that you had asked about it, I think he's really going to come through with that kind of elongated storytelling that based on the sales records and all that kind of stuff too. I got a feeling this book will go on as long as he intends it to.
Interesting. Well, that's good. That's very reassuring. Yeah, that's very cool. This is just kind of a question, but I've read both Donny Cates Marvel and Donny Cates Independent, and while I love what he's doing at Marvel, I like what he does more independent. And they're both very good. I just find that his storytelling style shines in indie books. Has anyone else thought about that or have feelings about that?
Yeah, I think with the overall, even though he's doing so much at Marvel, I think the the freedom of him not needing to fit this piece into that piece, even though he's headlining this King in Black where everyone else is fitting into his story. But the ultimate idea of like, dealing with multiple artists and multiple editors and just Disney as a, signing the checks and all that kind of stuff. I think him having that complete freedom through Image Comics of just being like, it's him and his people, and he most likely brings these artists on, the artists that will most likely keep continuing rather than being, turned out every story arc or something.
Yeah.
So I think that works to his advantage, like you were saying too.
Cool. That's excellent.
After I took the chunk of Runaways books, I saw some things tipping over on my shelf, so I had to do a little damage control.
Oh no.
It was almost a crossover inside here.
Oh wow.
Speaking of their Donny Cates, he's got his little sneak peek in the back.
Yeah, he's got a couple books running. Not only
the One You Feed, which I'm guessing he has Carol Burnett, Ron White, and Jonah Hill working on it with him.
Burnett.
Yeah. Yep. Jonah Hill's doing the lettering on there, I think, based on the positioning of the name. So. And yeah, Carol Burnett finally breaking out as a hit comic book artist. So.
It seems like an interesting little werewolf story.
I agree.
Doesn't look like she's doing her own colors though, based on the next name. So, but she's probably at least penciling and inking. So.
Of course, yeah, you can't do everything while you're running a successful variety show.
Yeah. But yeah, this.
That's what Harvey Korman's for.
Yeah.
And this is when we insert the clip from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Whip, whip, whip.
And we're back. That was great, everybody. Thanks, David, for putting that in
Oh.
here legally.
No problem. None at all.
Oh.
I'm sure this video won't be taken down, copyright. But yeah, anyways, when I had mentioned too, like after rereading 1 and 2 right before we started, I had about 20 minutes to spare, and I could not wait for the delayed mail, so I bought issue 3 right away digitally because I'm like, all right, I need this next chapter, and I am completely
super happy when you got to the end of it, weren't you?
super duper happy. No, is that teeth? I don't know. Or maybe this is a tease to something later in the show.
Ooh. I do have one more thought about crossover. Actually, it's about crossover number 1. Okay, so at the end of number 1, as many times we get a letter from the author. And Donny Cates wrote a letter that I thought was very moving and extremely appropriate, but it especially touched me, where he talks about several years ago, he was in the hospital. It sounds like he had some pretty bad health problems. And when he got out, he started writing comics very much on the nature of life and the dark things and the end of the world and death, honestly. And then he explored that for quite a while. And then he said he once again was in the hospital, and he came out in a totally different perspective, where he's like, I have spent so much time exploring this pain and this sadness through comic books. I'm now ready to do the next thing, which is I want to find something that makes life meaningful and life worth living. And for Donny Cates, and I would say for probably many of us, comic books are a huge part of that. And I thought it was really cool that he's going to explore what makes comic books special in a comic book. So I really liked that. Comics have helped me through some very tough times, and they have now become a incredibly bright, wonderful, enriching spot in my life, and have brought me closer to some amazing human beings that I feel so privileged to know you guys, and so thankful. And it is so much more than pictures and pow, blam, spat in a book. It is themes that are so universal and powerful, and I thought that was very touching. It sets a really good tone for this book, and I liked it. It was a good letter. Good job, Donny. I hope you're feeling better. Best of health in the new year.
Excellently said. And Jeff Shaw on art, D. Cuniff on colors, John J. Hill for letters and design, and Mark Wade on story edits, and and Jeff Shaw did the cover as well. So forgot to mention those other credits there, but yeah, I'm loving it. So all right, if there's no other closing thoughts on that, we will return with crossover number 3 once we all get them in the mail. It just come out this past Wednesday, I believe. So, but for further comic club discussions, we'll in the next month we'll have Inkblot number 5, and then the final issue of the Batman: The Adventures Continue. So yep, those are comic club discussions. You can jump in on those and pick up those back issues, and join in on the topic and comment along and reply on YouTube and the Facebook post under Crimson Cowl Comics, and yeah, we'll talk some comics. All right, that will do it for the club discussion portion. So we will move on to the weekly reviews. All right, good talk, everybody. Okay, so yep, we'll start off with Jim with what I think the Labyrinth one was your first one.
Yep. I'll do that first. Yep.
Okay, so yep, normal order. After that, we'll just start with Jim, and then on to me and so forth. So I will intro it, and here we go. Welcome to the weekly review section. We're going to go all the way around this internet Zoom and talk about the comics that we've been reading, both new and old. Let's kick it off with Jim. What do you got?
I have Jim Henson's Labyrinth, Masquerade number 1. Well, it's a one-shot, so yeah, it's number 1. And again, this is a tie-in to the movie. You can see the very Bowie-esque looking Jareth on the cover there. This was a very fun story. Well, not totally fun, but it was a very good story. There was a nice ending and a good middle. This is about a sideline, something that goes on alongside the main movie story. The Goblin King Jareth has these balls, and he wants fun, pretty people at the ball. So he has goblins who kind of dress up these doll people and put them in to fill a certain role, like they're to dance, they're to, chat, whatever. And that's it. That's their whole purpose, to be basically dolls. Well, one of these dolls becomes aware that she's being set up to be a doll, and she's not really a doll. And she kind of breaks through the wall and becomes aware of, that there's other things going on, and she is able to escape from her kind of slavery to the Goblin King's whims. And the goblin who is in charge of taking care of these dolls needs to go after her. And in the course of that, they escape to the junkyard, which was where he originally came from. And they meet his family, who kind of... Did we freeze up?
No,
Did he freeze up?
Okay. All of a sudden your pictures all stopped moving, so I wasn't sure. Again? I don't know how much we lost.
No, we heard everything on your side.
Oh. I think we're good.
Okay. So we meet, like I said, we meet his family, and they tell him that, you know what, you don't have to do this. You can go back and come here and live in the junkyard, and don't worry about what the Goblin King thinks. And they help this young woman find her place in the world, and they reunite her with her friends, and they end up going off on doing their own thing, and they end up rescuing the woman, and this goblin who was not enjoying his life as serving these dolls goes back to his family. So yeah, it was a fun story that runs alongside the movie, so if you're a fan of the Labyrinth, you see these goblins doing their thing again. Yeah, that was fun to see that.
Well, cool. And it was just David Bowie's birthday yesterday, I think, right?
Oh,
So a very timely
Cool.
release there. All right, good. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about here is started off as a Kickstarter campaign, but is now offered through a normal comic shop and ordering and stuff like that. This is an anthology comics from Black Crown Presents called Hey Amateur. And yes, this is a Mike and Laura all red cover, but this is an anthology that is edited by superstar editor Shelley Bond. Here we go. Hey Amateur takes the mystical 9-panel grid of comics lore and uses it to introduce you to anything you might need to know by breaking it down into small, manageable chunks with incredible cartooning. They say to never start trying to eat a whole elephant at once, but I'd bet you could find out how to do it in 9 panels. So that was written by Tina Howard, writer of Thanos and Excalibur. So Hey Amateur is 1-page, 9-panel stories. What's cool on the opposite side of the page is that we get little bios from the people that are working on these comics. To keep it in the Donny Cates family, I just happened to open up to this page, but his wife, Megan Hutchison, she looks like she did everything here. Written and art by Megan and colors by, D. Cuniff, the guy that we just talked about, or I assume the person we talked about in Crossover. So what they do here is they do 1-page stories kind of a how-to guide, and hers is how to be dyslexic. And in this 9-panel grid, it is a story dealing with that. And on the opposite page, there's a little bio about herself and just the idea of what inspires the story that these creators are doing. There's one that says how to daydream, how to make burritos right, how to prepare a mate. And I read that one a while ago. Oh yeah, that was a drink that they like passed around. Let's see, how to recognize various types of vampires and protect yourself from them. So there are a bunch of one page 9-panel stories with this how-to guide. Some are extreme like that. Some are very simplistic of how to make burritos right. Some of the other ones is this one was, well, yeah, I'm gonna skip that one. That was pretty graphic. Let's see here. How to train your doppelganger, how to decorate a cake. So that was a very kind of everyday one as well. So yeah, there's a lot of variety going on here that's very interesting. A lot of creators that I'm not familiar with, but got a nice bio of where they come from and what they've worked on. But then there are some pretty big recognizable names as well. Let's see here. We got like Michael and Laura Allred. We get Kelly Sue DeConnick, Becky Cloonan. And the list goes on. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of names along the back there that kind of came together, all brought together, edited by Shelley Bond. And she kind of brought this cool creative project through Kickstarter, and now it's available everywhere. One that I did bookmark because it was shows you how some of these how-to guides can be absurd. This is from a creator named China Clugston Flores, and she did a story, How to Survive a Bear Attack, Probably. And it kind of goes through and talks about some of the things you probably should do and shouldn't do, but ultimately keeps warning you that, you're probably going to get eaten. So there isn't a specific warning in here saying this is a definite guide, but I would say, take this information loosely and maybe don't use some of the stories quite literal, even though there are some tips in here, but ultimately there are some things that are pretty crazy here. Let's see here. Step 7, stay in your defense position until you are absolutely sure the bear is gone. We're talking 20 minutes or so. So, all right, it seems, plausible. It's talking about not running away and doing that because it says bears love to chase their food. But it says important, if the bear stalked you, all bets are off and you need to fight. And I mean fight, because you are on the menu. So yeah, there's a bunch of crazy stuff that happens in here. And the last one that I will share, because there's probably, I think there's
I do have to ask though, if you have to fight a bear, should you take off your shirt?
I think that is probably, if you still have pants on, pants are optional, but the shirt has to be off. If I've learned anything from the hit comic book from June 2017, as I look at the poster from imagecomics.com, then I think you should definitely have your shirt off if you plan to fight any bears. And the last one I wanted to share was a story here that is lost on me right now. Here we go. How to successfully kickstart a campaign called The Afterword. So this is by Shelley Bond and Helen Green. So Shelley Bond herself has a story at the very end that talks about a lot of tips about funding a Kickstarter. And I want to read from panel number 5. Procure 75% of your talent up front. Anyone who says no might still be a potential backer or offer to help with an outreach. Hire a killer cover artist and use that image on everything. The first image is everything. So I had talked about Michael and Laura Allred doing the cover image for Hey Amateur. Well, Helen here drew Michael and Laura right here in that specific panel. So that's a kind of a cool little shout out there as well. So this was an awesome collection, regardless of me being attracted by the cover. Awesome stuff. All right. Let's jump over to David.
All right. Well, following up on my recent review of the DC versus Marvel thing, I tackled some of the amalgam comics that came from that, where they did the mashups of certain characters. And the first one that I picked up and read was JLX. And this, I guess to start off with, all of these comics, they have them listed as like an issue number 1. And they really are set up like a comic book that you're just like jumping into a comic book series. But it's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to find an issue number 2 or an issue number 3 or anything else. So I kind of wonder how this went over with people who have a hard time like only grabbing like one issue of something. This one in particular, I mean, the whole fun of these is like learning which characters were mixed with who, as far as the DC with the Marvel ones. Obviously you've got ones that are easy to pick out, like Aquaman, Namor here. Cyclops and the Ray, Quicksilver and Impulse. And this is the story about the mutants of this amalgam world, where they split off from their I'm trying to think what it was called. It's not really the Justice League. I believe it was the Judgment League Avengers would be the JLA.
I thought it was going to be the Just Us League.
Yes. No, it was the Justice League Avengers. And in this case, they're pursuing them because now they're the mutant heroes have split off, and you're not sure the whole background of it. Again, you're kind of like thrown into this story, and you've got all these characters, and you sit there and you try to figure out like who's who and how they mixed them up. The one thing that I was surprised by in this is that not all of the mixed up characters are exactly who you'd think. For example, Doctor Strange Fate. They're like, oh, well, that's easy. They mixed Doctor Strange and Dr. Fate. Although, and this will be a spoiler to anybody who pulls it off, but who's going to actually read this, is he pulls off his helmet and he's revealed as Charles Xavier under the helmet. So it's actually a mix up of 3 characters, and it's kind of like that's the shocking moment, is like, hey, we threw this extra character in there. But you go through and you see some of these, and that's pretty much the fun of going through here, is really just seeing how they are and like getting the sample of like, what if there was this mixed up universe, and what would these characters be like? You don't have like one shot comics with them, although they do in a way have like a beginning and an end, but they of course leave it off as though the series will continue. So here the mutants are escaping. They're looking for the lost city of Atlantis, which apparently is the home to mutants. That's where mutants come from, is Atlantis. And so they're seeking it out and trying to find the rest of the mutants to save them. But they get there and they're gone. Instead, they find that there already are some villains there. These Sentinels, led by Will Magnus, who's revealed as Magneto's brother in this version. And this female-looking Sentinel here is actually Jocasta, who you would know as an Avengers android, sort of the female counterpart to Ultron, but
the Bride of Ultron.
Yes, yeah, and she's made to be the Bride of Ultron. So, you get characters that are thrown in that you wouldn't expect to be thrown in. So it gets a little crazy. without having charts to go, okay, this character is a mashup of this person and with maybe just a little bit of this person sprinkled in. A lot of it's really kind of more of a guessing game and trying to figure out who's who, you know, because even if you think, you know, you're not quite sure, you know, like you can pretty much tell they mixed Jean Grey with Fire from the Justice League to get Firebird. The Creeper from DC and Nightcrawler from the X-Men becomes, I think they might have called him Night Creeper. Sometimes you don't even get the names of the characters because the story guy kind of goes through so fast. But yeah, it's entertaining and it's fun to just go through and you know, try to figure out who these characters are made up of. But at the same time, you kind of go, I want to know what happened. and there's never ever going to be like issue number 2 of this. So now I haven't gone through and read all these, so I don't know if any of these stories kind of mix over to any of the other ones. And that would be nice because maybe you get a little bit more of like an overall picture. But as far as I could tell, there wasn't like a specific reading order for these or anything else. So, but it's fun. So if you're a fan of Marvel, you're a fan of DC, you know, I'd check these out.
Cool. All right, Kirby.
All right, another Art and Franco book. Got
Oh yeah.
Encounter Out of This World. Art Baltazar Franco and Chris Giaroso team up for the first time. Encounter is a new kind of hero, an alien escaped to Earth with pods that will eventually hatch to become his siblings, who can take any form he chooses, and decides to become a hero. With help from his talking dog, Barco, he fights crime on our planet, but there is a mysterious figure who will try anything to defeat him. In Volume 1, Encounter and such as Encounter and Barco must defend the pods from villains such as Gadget Man, Cold Blaze, the Thermodynamic Shark, and Ribbon Rhonda. No matter the odds, Encounter will always find a way to save the day. Again, another fun, adult, child-friendly book. You got a shark that one half is frozen, one half is on fire. They have to find a way to counteract him and take him out of there. Barco the dog, he just comes across and ends up that the dog gets the abilities to talk, and so he becomes a sidekick. It's a great fun little story. Lots of different enemies that they get to deal with in here. Ribbon Rhonda pretty much takes over the show. Has abilities with her ribbons that she can take away people's superpowers and stuff like that. And it's a fun look at an alien coming to Earth and just not knowing about his abilities, but chooses the good path. And he has these little speckled eggs that everybody's after. It's like when he's born, it's like that's the little speckled eggs. He's hatched, and he's hatched as a little a giraffe because he's in the giraffe enclosure, and then all of a sudden people see him forming, turning into different things, stuff, and they're all like, "Oh my God, this thing's worth millions, and got to get it!" So they jump the fences and try and catch him, and then from that point on, he's just constantly chased, goes through all the different stuff, but it's just a ton of fun watching him with all his abilities to form into different things to fight the different characters and stuff. But yeah, you can't go wrong. You want a good family-friendly book. I knew nothing about this character either. Came across it and very happy. So check those out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, comics lineup.
All right. The next title Katie's going to bring up is from the recently murdered Brian K. Vaughan. Take it away.
Yes, rest in peace, Brian. Okay, so I have Why the Last Man, Book 1. It is written by Brian K. Vaughan, Pia Guerrera, Jose Marzan Jr. It is from Vertigo, and it came out in the early 2000s. I debated bringing this book to the podcast this week because of its subject matter, but we're going to talk about it. So, Why the Last Man came out in the early 2000s. The premise is that there is kind of a plague is released throughout the whole world, and every mammal with a Y chromosome, so every male, gets this plague and dies very quickly. It leaves.
Did she cut out there?
Yeah, she has no audio right now. She's still on there. She just has.
Or did we all just die?
Oh
No. I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
yeah, it was a plague.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was just we had that plague where anybody without a Y chromosome had no audio, but we cured it.
Yeah, I've heard of that. It's something to do with cellular data and everything. So for the content warning on this book is fiction. It is not real. It is pretend. This is made up. There are very mature themes in this book. It is only for adults and adults who are probably in a pretty good headspace. There are some things in this book that are tying in to world events. I know we're joking here in the club, but they do reflect what's going on in the world. And so don't try this at home. Everyone who reads this, please know that it is a work of fiction. Do not try this at home. It is just for pretend. So in this, there is a plague. Only one male is left. His name is Yorick, and his capuchin monkey. So he has a pet monkey. And it grinds the world to a halt, as we have actually seen in our own life. The world stops, and it's an apocalypse. It's a wasteland, and how are we going to pick up the pieces? And if so, what do we do? So Yorick kind of runs around undercover for a very long time, and then his cover gets blown one day, and it's revealed that he is the last man left on Earth. And let's see. So with being the last man on Earth, obviously that causes a lot of conflict because people are like, how could you possibly survive? What's going on? And then they're like, we're going to use him to restart humanity and repopulate the planet. And there's other people that are like, no, we're better off. Let's get rid of this guy. He's a problem. So he ends up getting makes his way to Washington, D.C., where his mom is a senator. And his mom is, of course, overjoyed to see him. But then she's like, well, how did you survive? And he's like, what? I don't know. And she ends up locking him in a bunker because this is now a matter of national security of what are we going to do with this one person. And there's a subplot involved with a spy ring who is kind of keeping track of basically terrorist organizations throughout the world and how they may or may not be involved in all of this. So the big question is, where did this plague come from? And they end up running into a scientist who believes that she is responsible for this. She was doing some ethically questionable experiments on cloning and human DNA, and she thinks she is responsible. But now they're also going, well, ethical or not, we need you. Like, we need your work and your research. And so she gets involved in all of this. And then they are trying to get to her lab in upstate New York. But it's chaos because some people are deep in mourning and other people are effectively taking over the government. This is where, again, I want to point out, this book is fiction. This book is not real. Do not attempt anything you see in this book. Given what's happened this week, there are depictions of violence and guns in this book, especially around federal buildings. Again, this book is not real. Please be very careful if you're reading it. So they go to her lab, and one of the international terrorists, in addition to the domestic terrorists that we see, the international terrorists blow up the lab, and they're like, well, now what are we going to do? And because it's comics, there's a backup lab in California, which seems like, okay, well, we'll go to California. Well, 99% of pilots are men, so we have to get to California on a train, and everybody wants to get on this train because the East Coast is an absolute disaster. So they sneak their way onto this train, and I left off with them going to California. So we'll see where this goes from there. Let's see. So some technical specs. I picked up Why the Last Man from the Crimson Cowl Comics Comic Purge rummage sale because I have heard it spoken of very well on many different podcasts. A lot of people say if you want to understand modern comics, this is a really good one to read. It's very important. So I picked it up for that reason. And it sounds like just a cool sci-fi story. I liked Orphan Black, and it reminded me a lot of that. So far, in terms of like literary reading and entertainment, it's very good. Like, it's written well, and it is very entertaining and captivating. It's won many awards. I'm interested to see where it goes. And yeah, so Why the Last Man? It's for mature readers only, and it's by Brian K. Vaughan. Pia Guerrera is the penciler. Jose Marzan Jr. is the inker. Pamela Rambo does the colors. Clem Robbins is the letterer. This volume collects issue 1 through 10 from Vertigo Comics. Check it out.
And if you are unaware, there is a show that should be debuting this year on Hulu for Why the Last Man.
Oh, that's cool. That's a very interesting idea. Yeah, it would lend itself very well to a movie or a show. It is a sci-fi book, but you get a lot of action and spy tropes from it. So it does that very well. That was kind of like an essay-long description. Does anyone have any questions or talking points they'd like to go over?
I myself have the first 3 hardcovers out of 5, I believe, and once we get the release date for the show, then I was gonna do a reread of those and then scoop up. So I've never read the end of the story yet.
Okay.
But yeah, now you just reminded me. Oh shoot, I got to get on those.
All right. Well, cool. I'm glad I could help you out and stick that note in your brain.
Yeah. And I
That
haven't
is
been
another
able to
one
read
of
it
those
because
that's been
I'm immature, so
You'll be fine. Yeah.
That's another one of those that's been on my list to pick up and read sometime, but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah. I see.
Good. All right, then we will come back around to Jim. What you got next?
My second book this week is called The Expanse, and it's number 1 of 4. And this is a tie-in to the TV show. Currently, it's run on Amazon Prime Video. The first 3 seasons were available on the Sci-Fi Channel. When Sci-Fi canceled it, Amazon picked it up. This series apparently takes place in the gap between season 4 and season 5. I have only watched the first episode of season 5 so far, so it might be contiguous with that, but probably just before season 5 opened. This issue deals with Alva Sarala and Bobby Draper, who are still working together, although they both are in far different situations than they had been before, which you got hints of at the end of season 4. And it just fills in background of what they're doing in season 5 and backgrounds about the characters a little bit that you just didn't quite get from the TV shows. So I don't know where it's going to go with the next 3 issues, if it's going to continue with them or pick up with some of the other characters. Personally, I kind of would like to see some of the other characters brought in, but I think there is enough story if they want to go deep into what they've explored so far. And see what's going there. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. I've kind of held off binging on season 5 until I see where this is going, maybe. And, you know, the next couple issues will be out there, or the next issue will be out there fairly soon. So after I pick up that issue, I'll probably start watching the show again. But, and this is a really good sci-fi series that's actually set in our own solar system after humans have explored both Mars and the moon. then they've actually gone farther out into the belt, and now it's very filled with political drama because both Mars has separated itself from the humans on Earth, and now there's like a revolution out in the asteroid belt. But those people want to be their own political entity. They want to be separate from control of Earth. So there's a lot of politics as well as sci-fi stuff going on. So if you haven't watched the show, I do recommend that as well.
Cool. All right. Just to make sure we get him in, we will jump over to David with his next title.
All right. And so I brought another amalgam one. This one of the more popular characters from the amalgam line was Darkclaw. I don't understand why. It's not like he's, kind of made up from two popular characters like Batman and Wolverine or anything. Wait, actually he is. That's exactly what you get here. You get what happens when you mix Batman and Wolverine. And of course, for a good villain, you would also then have to mix the Joker with Sabretooth, and that gives you Hyena. As long as we're at it, how about if we take another Batman character, maybe a sidekick like Robin, and mix it with if Wolverine only had a sidekick. Oh wait, back around this time he kind of did in Jubilee. So let's mix them together and we'll get Sparrow. Awesome. And so that's what they do in this particular comic. It really seems to take a lot more of the origin stuff from Wolverine, more so than Batman. Honestly, I can't say that reading this, I really felt a lot of the Batman influences from it. There's a lot of experiments and stuff like that. And you do have a mention of this character Logan being an orphan, that his parents had been killed when he was younger. But aside from that, it's more in line with a lot of the Wolverine origin stuff, going off and joining the Canadian Air Force and getting involved with these experiments and stuff like that created him, and also Hyena. They don't really give you any kind of origins on the Sparrow character, which I thought would have been kind of interesting, at least some sort of story. And there's no explanation like why is this character hanging out with this juvenile sidekick. There's not even a mention there of Sparrow, just that she happens to be running around helping him out, and kind of like a Robin character from like the Dark Knight Returns, with the goggles and everything. Kind of reminded me of her a little bit. And then, just for good measure, because Batman's got all these extra characters in the Bat family, but Wolverine's got a lot of ties to the Marvel universe. So we've got Amalgam's very own version of the Huntress, which is actually Carol Danvers. And she's breaking into a place which right away made me think Catwoman. So there's kind of this Catwoman, Huntress, Carol Danvers kind of thing. And we'd be talking more of the secret agent, SHIELD version of Carol Danvers, more so than the superpowered Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel version. Although maybe if we got more than one issue, we'd see something happen with that. But the whole story kind of surrounds a scheme by Hyena to kill the president, while Huntress stumbles upon Darkclaw's secret lair and finds out who he is. So again, this too, it's entertaining, but also disappointing, because you get to the end of it and you're like, I don't know what happens, because there's not going to be a number 2. Although later, they did put out a version that was based on like the animated adventures of of Batman, they kind of did the same thing for Darkclaw, where it was like the comic adaptation of an animated version of Darkclaw that never actually existed. So I will get to that in my reading list. But it'll be interesting to see how that version compares to this version. But again, it's nice to kind of see how they use the characters and how they merge them together. Like a lot of these characters, I feel like that mix up is a little bit uneven. It's not exactly what you would expect. And at the same time, maybe it's for the best that it's not exactly what you would expect, because who wants exactly what you would expect? So another fun read. And I will be continuing on with, the amalgam comics as I go through. I'm basically treating this as though it's my version of like what we would have done for a club pick or something like that, event book that's going on, even though it happened, back in the like early to mid 90s. So
now both of those issues, you keep talking about how you're having trouble with getting to a number 2. I mean, X-Lax has been proven to work if you needed to get that taken care of. So
yeah, I have been having problems that there's no number 2. So
somewhere Damon just kind of grinned and shook his fist, but yeah,
that seems like it could have actually been the title of one of these books, X-Lax. Mixing up X-Men and something else.
And honestly, when looking at your list and you put Darkclaw in there, you fooled me in the past when I was trying to figure out like Zombie Dust. That wasn't like, I can't think of what book that is. Like David usually doesn't read that kind of stuff. So when I saw Darkclaw, I thought there was some new spinoff of White Claw or something that you tried from Jeff's on Maine or something. And I'm like, I wonder what he's going to be talking about here.
Yeah, if there was a darker version of this,
Yeah.
All
right.
With that, I have a child to go, give a ride to. So I shall return.
You got to go drop a kid off at the pool, is what you're saying?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Sounds good. This is going to be a really great transition into this next book here. Yo Gabba Gabba, comic book time. Yo, it's comic book time. Join DJ Lance and his magic boombox pals Muno, Tootie, Plex, Broby, and Fufa for original comic adventures by animators from the show and some of the brightest talents in comics. But the fun doesn't end with the Gabba Land gang. Comic book time also means it's story time, with all new story time tales and the sensational return of Super Martian Robo Girl. Google says this book made me cry, apparently. So I know nothing about Yo Gabba Gabba other than it's a kid's show. I don't know if it's something on the line of like Teletubbies and that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about it other than the name exists. So why the heck am I talking about Yo Gabba Gabba, a graphic novel anthology? Well, it did mention a bunch of different comic book talents featuring super comic book friends. Evan Dorkin, Sarah Dyer, we got Julia Vickerman, Philip Bond, Jay Torres, Kelly Fontancino, and many more, including Michael Allred. Yes, Michael Allred does do a story in here with colors by Han Allred. In the opening story, actually, this was written by his friend and editor, Jamie Rich. It is a story sticking together. It's about a tale about this superhero who is coming into what I assume is Gabba Land. I don't know much beyond what I read here, but this superhero shows up. His name is Blue Blaster 5, and he has traveled the universe battling the Mean Greenies, an evil race of scary toy-stealing aliens. So he is there to warn the characters in Gabba Land, and he is talking about how these toy-stealing aliens are there, but there's one way that they can all work together to save the day and save their land. is if they all work together and sing a song. So there is a moment in here where they all grab some instruments and they all start making some music in order to stop the enemy. Now that is maybe a 8 to 10 page story or so. This is an anthology, so we've got a couple tales from Super Martian Robot Girl, who is one character in here. I can't confirm if she's original for these comics or if it's a character within this television show. But in between all of these stories, there's also each of these characters kind of show you how they do a special little dance. All of the characters have their own little dance, and then you see the step-by-step process how to pull that off. This is a very fun book. A lot of cool different art styles as you see all the different comic talent come in. So not only the style that you've seen on the cover and stuff here, but then you see this kind of cool painted storybook type of style in there as well from some creators. Some shorts or some stories are short, some stories are long. Yeah, I actually had a lot of fun kind of reading this. I had a couple good laughs here and there. I can't at all remember any of the characters' names by pointing them out. There's just a lot of crazy stuff going on in Gabba land here, all of these wacky characters. But I definitely did have fun with it. There was one story, another one I wanted to point out here, which was about one of the characters going around and he learned about the concept of, let me get I think it was towards the end here. He learned the concept of finders keepers. So when they had stumbled across something here, they found this sparkly. I'm trying to think what the on here. I think it was like a diamond or something that they found, and basically this character said finders keepers, and this green character, whatever their name is, was basically going around and was just like, interesting. Went to the beach, found a beach ball, basically stole it from people playing with it and says, finders keepers, it's mine now. And he goes across all these different stories. There's somebody who's measuring the difference between the weight of a coconut and a pile of feathers. And the guy goes to run off to get some more feathers. And this little green guy is just like, hey, cool, coconut, finders keepers, it's mine now. And everything he goes through, or they go through, I'm not sure, I don't know the gender of any of these characters, quite frankly. So kind of goes through and realizes that throughout the end of the story is just stolen all of this stuff. And they kind of teach him a valuable lesson on what finders keepers means and the difference between asking permission to borrow things and the difference of stealing things. So there are some lessons to be learned. So I think this is a great read for parents with little ones if they are into this show and stuff. But for someone like me who has no idea what's going on, it definitely has the enjoyment of the Oh Yeah comic crew as far as the kind of storytelling that I think is very all ages. And once again, it was another thing that I was drawn in through an all red story. Never would I have imagined like, oh yeah, of course Michael Allred has worked in the Yo Gabba comics. But yeah, it was kind of interesting and just to see this thing exist. And it's a cool hardcover collection here. This is from Oni Press, and that is Yo Gabba comic book time. Once again, if you don't know anything about the show, I think you'll still enjoy this because I sure did. All right. Then we're going to take a hard turn from Yo Gabba to whatever the heck Kirby has on his list here. What's the next item?
Kyle Starks did a Sexcastle. And Jim, get that out of your mind. It's not what you think it would be. This is not Under the Cowl. This is the family-friendly pod, somewhat. This is Sexcastle. The former world's greatest assassin moves to a small town, leaving the world of killing behind, only to be pulled back in. An exciting action romp in the style of classics 80s action films. This is fun. It could have been a lot better. It's a really quick read. It's done in black and white. He's basically an assassin. He comes back, he finds this flower shop, and he wants to just settle down, grow flowers, quit killing. He buries his guns and starts his life behaving himself, just enjoying it, and meets some new people. And just as he gets settled in, of course, people come after him and want to take him out. So the guy that has it in for him sends the top, I think it's called top 9 assassins after him. And then he has to deal with all them. And then he digs up his golden dragon guns, which are a fun little thing that I don't want to give it away what they are and stuff, but so it's a fun look back, but it's basically a lot of the 80s films are basically referenced in here, but they could have gone a lot deeper with it. But yeah, it was a very quick read, but just fun watching him deal with each individual assassin, how he takes them out and stuff. And it's just one of those fun things. Brings you back to Sylvester Stallone, Commando style stuff, just all that. But a lot of references to Snake Plissken and stuff in here. So, yep. If you like the 80s action films, you'll like this.
Cool.
I know you were disappointed. You were thinking something. I gave the name out there, Anthony.
I just didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if Richard Castle had written a new book I didn't know about, jumped into new genres, but, the murder porn genre, I'm not sure what's going on. So. Okay, we have one more title in the weekly reviews. Jim, let's wrap it up here. What you got?
Mine is not a comic book. It is an audio book, but it's an audio book based on a comic book. Last week, I found the title Lock and Key while I was browsing Audible, and it turns out it was actually the Lock and Key that was a comic book. And this audiobook came out about 5 years ago, and it includes the entire run of the series, which was like some 30-some comics, I think. It ended up being 6 trade paperbacks worth of story, and it was all there, and it took like 13 and some hours to read or to listen to. So, but that was another story that has always been on my list as something I should read, but something I'll get to eventually. But since I didn't have to read it and go and buy all these trade paperbacks, and I could get it for just a single Audible credit, which is a bargain, I can listen to it while I'm working and doing other stuff, and that's exactly what I did. And I love this story. It's not exactly what I expected. All I knew about it was that there were kids who lived in this old house that had magic keys that did weird stuff. That's all I knew. And it is so much more than that. There is a very compelling mystery that goes along with it. And it gets very dark with demons and murder and so much more than that. And I didn't know that this was written by Joe Hill. And if I had known that, I probably would have looked into it more sooner. So but this audio recording, and it's not just a reading of the story. This is a full cast drama that is read, and it's music cues and sound effects and everything. It's like you were watching a movie without watching the movie, just had your back to the screen and that way. So it's completely done that way. And then there's a very good narrator who fills in the rest of it. Now I want to see a comic book to see how much, if they did actually get every beat, did they condense it? Did they do anything like that? But this story, I cannot say I love this story. I know there are some other books that they published to go along with it, but they aren't actually part of the main story. It looks like you may have read those, Anthony.
I know it's been on my long list, but I know they've done, because now they did the Netflix, is it an animated show, I think?
I haven't seen any of those. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so there's something on Netflix, and I know like they're doing, I think, little like spin-off miniseries or something, but I have yet to read anything from there, but it's been on my long list. But I'm just more
Yeah.
so confirming that there's a lot of Lock and Key out there.
Yeah. And I just finished reading it or listening to it this morning. In fact, it got to the point where while I was cleaning the house, I had to turn the vacuum cleaner off and stop and just listen to it for 10 minutes because I couldn't hear what was going on. So, and it's like, nope, I'm going to listen to this instead of finish cleaning. So it was that good. And then when at the end, they give you the credits of who played what part. There are a few famous actors who are in there, like Haley Joel Osment and Tatiana I'm going to butcher that name, Maslany. Okay. They're both in there, a few others. And then Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez, the writers, are both have parts in there. I didn't know who they were because they don't list what part they played, as well as Stephen King has a part in here.
How'd he get the job?
I don't know. It must have some connections. I
Grueling
didn't catch it. I didn't catch his voice when it was on there. So I did look it up and found out it is just a very small bit part. He is somebody who gave another character a ride. So he's probably appeared in 2 panels in the comic book. You know, that
like
kind of part.
Stan Lee size cameo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he probably was put through a grueling audition process, and they're like, you know what? We're not going to cast you as the lead, but hey, you can be one of the trees in the background if you want.
And speaking of Stephen King, there is a great homage to him in this story. Not to him, but to one of his stories in this story. And for those of you who haven't read it or haven't watched any of this stuff, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was like I just chuckled when the scene happened. You know, it's like I loved it. It was great. So, you know, but yeah, I love this story. I'm looking forward to reading the comics too.
Yeah, I just really got to hunker down and get those as well. And the host of Comic Book Club, the podcast, not this Comic Club podcast, but Justin, Pete, and Tyler are big fans of that. And they are minor characters in the comic series, which I just went back to. I don't know if it's just with having them on the show and how if they were just like, hey, I'm going to write these little bit parts. So for the last like 10 years, I've just always heard about their absolute love for it, but it was always just on, on the long list. So, all right. Good. All right. That will do it for the weekly reviews, but we've got a couple more segments. So let's jump over to the letters page. All right. Just gotta grab something quick for the letters page. We are recording audio. Here we go. This week's question for the letters page. It's a brand new year and it's time for resolutions. What resolution would you give a character? All right. So this past week I started my my rereading of Scarlet Witch and Vision comics because January 15th we will get the first 2 episodes of WandaVision on Disney Plus. So I decided to pull out a couple classic storylines that they'll kind of pick and lend and borrow from. So I've been reading Vision and the Scarlet Witch, 2 miniseries from the early to mid 80s, as well as rereading one of my most precious comics, which is The Vision from 2016. This is the hardcover family album edition. which has cool fake water stains, watermarks, and whatever. And so when reading these comics, it really inspired my New Year's resolution that I was going to give it to Vision and Scarlet Witch, because every time they try to get time away from the Avengers, quit the Avengers, and go have a family life, they get a house. Everybody knows that they live there. It draws attention. A lot of people like them. A lot of people hate them. There's usually villains that show up in their house, and they're just still wearing their costumes in the front yard, and they just try to have some time for themselves away from superheroing, but the danger always follows them. So I think for a 2021 resolution is a Vision and Scarlet Witch, in the canonical story that they would be a couple at this time, not really an item in the current comics that's been touched on that I'm not aware of, at least. But for them to maybe use Wanda's hex powers to just give them different disguises. I don't think putting on, a hat and a trench coat and sunglasses is really going to do it, because even like during a pandemic and you're wearing masks, you could still tell, see celebrities through the eyes. I know there's celebrities that have talked about like they're masked up and wearing hats and they're still being recognized on the street, and people wanting selfies during a pandemic and stuff like that. It's like, all right, that might be a little crazy. So a simple disguise is not going to help them. So I think a good resolution is for them to take some actual time from themselves and do some hex powers, give them completely different identities. And I think that's going to better their well-being. It'll be a diet, so to speak, from the superhero world, at least for a little bit, to get that much overdue vacation that they well deserve. So that's the resolution I think they should really work on, is more me time in the case of them. All right. Let's see. David, do you have an answer? Nope, doesn't sound like it. So let's jump over to Kirby. What you got?
I'll bet cleanup on this one, boss. I'll go last.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like a tag.
It's a baseball reference. Sorry.
See, yeah, and I thought it was like a setup, just being like, all right, whose catchphrase is that? What am I not getting? All right, Katie.
Okay, so I am going to help Golden Gale from Black Hammer Universe with a resolution, and my resolution for her is to quit smoking. It's, as we know, it's very bad for your health, and unfortunately, it's very addictive on your own. So for Golden Gale's resolution, I will go to meetings with her. I will get her some Nicoderm patches and gum that she can use, and I'd encourage her to do some therapy, because I know she's got a lot of pain and trauma, and part of the reason she smokes is she's like a 55-year-old lady in a little girl's body, and she wants to be the adult on the outside that she is on the inside. So I would help her find an activity that she can do that is more grown up, but not as detrimental as smoking. So I'm going to help Golden Gale in her resolution to quit smoking.
That's very good. All right. Let's jump over to Jim.
Well, personally, I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions. I never make them. I never worry about that. When I need to make a change, I make it whenever I need to do it, So I didn't even think about this until like we just started tonight. So if I had to make a resolution or tell somebody to make a resolution, I guess based on what I currently read, I would say Bruce Wayne needs to get into family counseling. He and Damian are just way too split up. They need to get things sorted out.
Yeah, I think that's long overdue. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, very helpful.
I was scrolling through to get an answer from Dr. Kurt's dad, because we were supposed to have this one last week when we actually didn't have a show, but I found his answer here. He goes, let me just find it here. Batman needs to make a resolution to change his image. Add a few bright colors, smile once in a while, take a victim to dinner, he could have better reputation than the Green Arrow by 2022, even if he will never be more popular than Detective Chimp, much less Flash or Superman. Step at a time. Wow, he just wants to completely reinvent him, take him back to the Adam West days there. So, but hey, much needed, much like the therapy and with Damian. Batman needs a lot of work. So, but 2021 is going to be his year. He's got a movie coming out, so maybe.
Deeply flawed individual.
Yeah. Okay, Kirby, since you are going to step up to the plate, if you will, I'm going to throw a ball down the alley, and you're going to swish it.
Knock it out of the park.
Okay.
Well, before I got on the podcast tonight, I thought about it for a second, and I came up with everybody that has superpowers needs to give up hallucinogenics, because once they do, they'll realize they're all sitting in a padded cell, imagining that they have all these superpowers, because superpowers are not real. So yeah, I get over that. But then I did some research while we were sitting here, and I just wanted to mention a few issues that some characters had over time. I know you got the simple ones. Alcoholism would be Iron Man, Venom, Wolverine, well, the Flash Thompson Venom. They all had issues with alcohol and stuff. Captain America was a meth head for a while. He was an insane paranoid tweaker when the meth bonded with his super soldier serum. So he should give that up.
Yeah.
That's not good for being an American superhero. Ultraman is addicted to kryptonite, uses his powers to cook up the kryptonite so he can snort it. Yeah, Nuke is a character that he's addicted to reds that give him adrenaline, blues that calm him down, and whites that keep him balanced. For Katie, you got Katie Skywalker is addicted to death sticks. They're like little type of drug.
Yeah, I need to go home and rethink my life.
Iron Fist got hooked on opium for a while. Batman and Bane had issues with a drug called Venom. But the one that I thought was the funnest was Martian Manhunter is addicted to Choco's cookies because they have a narcotic effect on Martian physiology. But that would be a good thing for him to give up. They're like a fancy Oreo, I guess. But yeah, that's what I came up with. I was curious if anybody would use any of those. That's why I wanted to go last. So
Yeah, I think you've answered the question for anybody that didn't show up. Kind of
there were a bunch more, but you can research.
Good. All right. Well, that is going to do it. Katie Skywalker has entered the chat. Okay,
I got a promotion. This is fantastic.
Stay off those death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
All right, we have two more segments. Let's go to the news. Even though we got a lot in here, it actually should come out at a pretty decent time.
Yep.
No offense to David, but it helped that he had to step away and that Damon wasn't here and kind of freed up some extra time for our overloaded show. But we would have went giant size if needed. So okay.
Hey, if nobody else has anything to show off, it's not anything special that I'm showing off.
I've got something cool to show off, so yeah.
Yeah. I have an accomplishment too.
Okay, cool. We are recording for audio. Oh yeah, the previews. Okay. Okay, we are going to do part 1 of 2 of our previews preview. These are in the brand new catalogs in January for the products coming out in March and beyond for 2021. We're going to do Marvel and DC this week, kicking off with Marvel. And next week, we will wrap it up with the independent catalog, the giant catalog, talk about all the independent publishers and merchandise and collections and toys and all that kind of fun stuff. So over in the Marvel catalog, we got a lot of the King in Black stuff that is starting to slowly wrap up. We still got a bunch of little one-shots and things like that. That definitely buys me a little bit of time as I flip through this to remember, oh yeah, here it is. This might be an issue that some people might be into, mostly because of the creator. So it could be pitched as a club discussion. I know I'm getting it. But by Daniel Warren Johnson doing the writing, Daniel Warren Johnson doing the art and the covers, we have Beta Ray Bill, issue number 1 of 5. Yes, Beta Ray Bill is getting his own book. This is something I would have just been like, okay, I'm curious. Let me read what it's about. But when I heard it was Daniel Warren Johnson, I'm like, I don't need to read what this book is about. I am buying it. So Daniel Warren Johnson doing Beta Ray Bill starting in March. 5-issue miniseries from the pages of Donny Cates' Thor and spinning out of the events of King in Black. The second most famous wielder of Mjolnir, the right-hand man to the God of Thunder, and now a warrior without his best weapon. I will leave it at that in case it goes into King in Black stuff, even though the event didn't wrap up yet. But so yeah, Beta Ray Bill, issue number 1 of 5 by Daniel Warren Johnson. All right. Then we will jump over to Kirby.
I want to check out this Avengers Curse of the Man-Thing one-shot.
Yes.
For decades, the Man-Thing has haunted the Florida Everglades. Now a new enemy has hijacked his body on a quest to take his incendiary abilities global. We wake to fear his gargantuan monolith menace as gargantuan monoliths menace cities worldwide, with only the Avengers standing between the population of Earth and the planet-wide inferno. Can they save Man-Thing in time to douse the fires? And does the man inside the thing even want to be saved? But yeah, I'm really enjoying this Man-Thing stuff that I've been checking out. I want to check this for sure. And it's part 1 of 3, so I don't know how that's going to work with it being a one-shot, so...
Yeah, I think I don't know if they were all like part of these like standalone story. What do you have a page number, or are you looking in the online catalog?
I'm online.
But yeah, I think that I'm trying to think if that's one of those things where they've done the one shots, but it's part of a 3-issue where they're all kind of standalone, but together they're all part of a series or something. But
yep.
And because of the Man-Thing, they're also doing a couple variant covers throughout the other series for Man-Thing like mashups. So there's a Spider-Man-Thing cover. I think there's a Carol Danvers one too. But yeah, so I'm scooping up a couple of those. All right. Katie Skywalker, anything from Marvel?
I would. I have several this week, but I am very excited for Beta Ray Bill, number 1 of 5 by our homie, Daniel Warren Johnson. I love this character. I have enjoyed it since I first read him like 3.5 years ago. I'm very happy to see more Beta Ray Bill, and I think Daniel Warren Johnson will be excellent at it. As we've seen in his previous work, he is fantastic at drawing monsters and creatures and wastelands. And he did an incredible job on Wonder Woman Dead Earth. We talked about it so much on this podcast, so I am super pumped to see what he's going to do at Marvel with another superhero character. I think it's going to be a great fit. I am all in on Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, after the Wonder Woman Dead Earth, it almost just seems like the publishers are just like, you know what? We hired Daniel Warren Johnson, and we just let him do what Daniel Warren Johnson does. And yeah. Oh, so pumped. Cool. Then Jim.
I had nothing from Marvel.
Okay. Because Damon's not here, I will mention that Alien number 1 is happening. He's always talking about the Alien books and all that kind of stuff, and I'm assuming he's probably going to be on board for that, so I will name drop that for Damon. Something that I was so pumped up to see that she is returning to her own series. It's a mini series of 5. Silk #1. Cindy Moon Silk, who was introduced into the Spider-Verse event, or just the Spider-Verse event rather. The character of Cindy Moon, who was also bit by the spider right after it bit Peter Parker, and she was locked away in a bunker for quote unquote her safety. Unbeknownst to her, it was due to a villain that was kind of keeping her out of how do I want to word this? Keeping her out of the action in a way, and basically just locking her away until Peter Parker happened to, his spider sense was going off, and he happened to discover her. And she is a character that was kind of reclaiming the 10 years loss of her life from a teenager up until mid-20s. And she's had, I think, 2 other series that had some pretty healthy runs, but she's been off the map for a little bit. She's been showing up in the other series here and there, so I'm excited to see her jumping into her own mini series with all these cool variant covers are pretty much all going to be scooped up by me because each one is pretty great. Bengal, Nei Young Woo, Jae Young Lee, a lot of awesome covers. So Silk #1. Kirby.
Beta Ray Bill's first and second appearance just sold on my eBay today.
Oh, really?
Awesome, bro. So good.
And be careful with those Back in Black issues. I bought one. It had 2 sentences, one on the first page, one on the last page, and a bunch of pictures in between.
What's the Back in Black?
Or King in Black, Back in Black, King in Black. The one-shot issues. I bought one with the Hulk. But yeah, Deadpool's Nerdy 31 shot. He's the merc with the mouth full of birthday cake. Deadpool's turning 30, and to help celebrate, we've assembled some of the classic storytellers to tell tales of Wade Wilson's birthdays past, and future. A first birthday with time-traveling assassins, a Sweet 16 party that would make Molly Ringwald weep, a 100th birthday that could only be celebrated in grand Deadpool style, blow out the candles, pin the cybernetic arm on the cable, and open this present just for you. Parental advisory, of course.
But, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on the list as well. Katie.
Okay, so my next one, I'm kind of surprised by, but it's Disney Kingdom's Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. There's a ride at, several of the Disney parks called Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It's a roller coaster. The idea is, because all the rides at Disney have stories, it's not just a ride, it's an experience. The idea is it is a mining train through like an old kind of town and a bunch of rocks, and you go on this roller coaster and it takes you through this adventure. So there's a comic book about it, and that's both a very strange and a kind of cool idea to me. On a personal level, I wanted to understand more about why the Magic Kingdom specifically is special and why it draws so many people. And there's actually a lot of really cool engineering work on it. And I think this story might give me just some more perspective on that. So there's a trade paperback, Magic Kingdom or Disney Kingdom's Big Thunder Mountain Railroad from Marvel.
Cool. Captain America Anniversary Tribute #1, a 48-page one-shot celebrating 80 years of Captain America. And there's just a crazy amount of talent that are actually being here to kind of redraw his origins. So they show an interior art by Alex Ross that is just absolutely gorgeous, obviously, showing him being uncovered in the ice and everything like that. But there is just a huge amount of talent on here. Celebrating 80 years of Captain America is definitely going to be part of this no matter what. So yeah, I'm excited for that one in March. Kirby.
Yeah, I'm curious about that thing Katie just talked about, because I got a video of me at 6 years old going on that Thunder Mountain Railroad ride down in Florida. But
Nice. That's
yeah. Other than that, I'm done with Marvel. Other than I know Carnage is doing a Black, White, and Blood, just like they did the Wolverine Black, White, and Blood. So check out that.
Cool. Demon Days X-Men #1. This is written and drawn by superstar cover artist Peach Momoko. From Stormbreaker, Peach Momoko comes a Marvel story unlike anything you've ever seen before. A wandering swordsman with a psychic blade arrives at the village that's being targeted by demons. One demon is black and white with a terrifying red tongue, and another may be the strongest demon there is. In the stunning kickoff issue of this prestige quarterly story, you'll see a revolutionary reimagination of the Marvel Universe that can only come from Peach Momoko. Ready your katana and enter a mysterious world of demons, monsters, mutants, and magic. This is book 1 of 5 of the Demon Days saga. Peach Momoko, who just has these just gorgeous covers that throughout the industry, you just see her name everywhere. You type it into a previews guide, you're going to see tons of stuff pop up from Peach. And I might be mistaken here, but I'm not sure if she's ever done interior art and stuff before, but she's listed here for it. So I think, especially with being a quarterly book here, that probably makes sense, because I think she just does all of the work for it. Yeah. So yeah, you see Psylocke on this first one here, but they show some interior pages and stuff, and definitely a very different approach to, once again, kind of a reimagining to the Marvel Universe through Peach Momoko's art. So definitely getting that. That is Demon Days, X-Men #1. All right. And you guys are done. Katie, you have another one?
I do. This is my big one, and I'm so pumped for it. Big thanks to Damon for pointing this out to me a few months ago. We have Star Wars Legends Old Republic Omnibus hardcover volume 1. Okay, I am so pumped for this book. So glad Damon showed me this. Over the summer, I talked about the Old Republic Epic Collections, and it tells the story of a young man named Zane Carrick. These are set thousands of years before the Skywalker saga. And I told the group that they were amazing and excellent, and I loved it. The problem is, Volume 1 of the Old Republic Epic Collection is out of print, and it is extremely hard to get. They sell for hundreds of dollars. The cheapest I've ever seen it is like $115, and it gets snapped up instantly. I just can't afford that. What makes this book special is they are reprinting all of the Knights of the Old Republic comics in one volume, and itself costs $125. So in terms of a good bargain, it's way better to get the whole volume versus like one volume. So I'm very pumped for that. And also, I just really love this story, and I would love to have it in hardcover. And I'm excited. I hope they continue this trend. There's other really great Star Wars comic stories that I think really deserve a special hardcover edition. So I'm just excited for this comic on all levels. I want to say it does cost between $115 and $125, but it's worth it to me. So that is Star Wars Legends Old Republic Omnibus hardcover volume 1.
Excellent. And anything else from Marvel to close it up?
No, I'm good.
All right, and I am done with that as well. We'll jump over to DC. And Jim, do you want to kick us off with what you recommend from DC?
I have one title from DC that looks new that is new and looks interesting to me, and that is a Gotham-based title, and it's Batman Urban Legends #1, and this is going to be a new monthly series, and it's not really going to be about Batman. It's going to be about the other characters that inhabit Gotham City. And the first story arc is going to be written by Chip Zdarsky, and it's going to focus on Red Hood. So I am going into this, and this is going to be an anthology kind of book. And it's going to be a little bit heftier. It's going to be a $7.99 cover price.
Yeah, I see Chip is doing a couple things over there in the Batverse, if you will. He's part of the Batman Black and White #4, I think, as well. So I know he's still doing work at Marvel. So I wonder if this is some kind of, he's able to play in both worlds. But be interesting to see if he would make any big career change coming up. He's seems to be wanting to dip his toes into that world. Okay, so that was, and then I'm next. All right. I just had to load up the DC Connect thing, not having the physical, because they don't do physical catalogs anymore, right? For DC. Okay, so Swamp Thing #1 is happening, which definitely got my attention. Swamp Thing, who his series are few and far between, but we have Ram V, and who is jumping in, and art by Mike Perkins. Swamp Thing returns in a new 10-issue series that stars Levi Kamei as the next Guardian of the Green. Unable to control his transformation into the monstrous Swamp Thing, Levi is thrust into the harsh, unforgiving mystery of grisly murders committed by supernatural desert legend. Almost said desert legend. That's a whole different story. Levi must revisit past events in his homeland of India and face the deadly reality of a ravenous new villain in order to comprehend what he is truly and horrifyingly becoming. A new era of global action and horror blossoms here, and Swamp Thing will be at the root of it. All right. I wish I came up with that, but that was in the solicit. So yeah, Swamp Thing #1, 10-issue series. Pretty rad cover right there and for the opening. So, but yep, I'm getting this. All right, Kirby.
The only one I got for DC is Tiny Titans Pet Club from Art and Franco.
Oh yeah.
In these tales, the Tiny Titans try to figure out the difference between a superhero and a sidekick. Show and Tell Day at Sidekick Elementary has hilarious results. And Beast Boy tackles science class and find out if Robin keeps his new identity as Nightwing. It's another fun book by Art and Franco, so I will be getting it.
All right, Katie.
All right, so my one pick from DC is called Sensational Wonder Woman #1. I think it's just a one shot, but I could be mistaken. And it's to celebrate Wonder Woman's 80th anniversary. It is on sale on March 2nd, and it costs $4.
Yeah, that one's on the list as well. I was gonna check that once. I'm not sure if that one. I know it might be a digital first.
Okay. Oh, that's fine for me.
Which I think might lend it to it being an ongoing, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's different when going through the. Here we go. Yeah, I don't see the one shot listed, so it might be an ongoing until.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yep. Cool. Another one I'm excited for here. Wait, Jim, anything else, or did you just have that one you said? Okay. This one is a graphic novel paperback by Ryan North, who is art by Derek Charm. So this is called The Mystery of the Meanest Teacher, a Johnny Constantine graphic novel. So Constantine is getting a young adult graphic novel, and just the fact that it's subtitled a Johnny Constantine graphic novel has got my money. Ryan North, who is the writer of the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, which I just thought was an unbelievable series. He is writing this, and honestly, I don't really care about Constantine, even though he's Swamp Thing adjacent. I've tried some Hellblazer and Constantine, I don't really care unless Swamp Thing's included. And so normally I would skip over this, but when I saw Ryan North involved, I think this is going to be a pretty hilarious romp. He's joined by a friendly demon named Etrigan. So it's funny that they're throwing this. I just can't wait to see like this, weird, like maybe like a Gotham Academy version of John Constantine in a way. The guys over at Challengers Comics in Chicago, when talking about their excitement for this, they said, unfortunately, they missed a very obvious title. This could have been called Heck Blazer. That would have been perfect. But regardless, it is still a Johnny Constantine graphic novel. Let's see here. So, anything else from anyone? Katie, anything else?
No, I'm good. Unless we do sub picks. I'm done.
Okay, and I think I'm the last one. Everyone else is done. Last thing I'll recommend: there's a new Harley Quinn book after the last the 75 issue run that just wrapped up. So I'm excited for that one. That one is done by Stephanie Phillips and art by Riley Rossmo. Riley's art on this is a big selling point for me. Here's a good example of the cover here, but yeah, it just looks bright and fun, and yeah, just the art style is gorgeous. Here's some interior art here against Killer Croc. But yep, new Harley Quinn book, new creative team. I'm excited to see what they have in store. All right, and then a couple other DC notes for anyone that's interested. There's a big Infinite Frontier #0, which is going to be like the DC Rebirth-sized esque type of giant story where it's got a bunch of creators on. It's going to be jumping in, kind of doing a preview of what where all these characters are going to be in the upcoming year for story-wise. It's going to have the return of Stargirl in here. It's got tons of writers, tons of artists. $6.99, 64-page one-shot that's going to be kind of the launching point for all of these kind of stories and where these characters are going.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's up there for Infinite Frontier #0. Okay, I think.
I found another one that I have on my list too.
Yes,
Joker is getting another series.
that's right.
Joker #1 is coming out that month. So, and this is the second time I believe that he has had his own titled series.
Yeah, definitely. Without having just some, like a offshoot like Joker Smile or Joker graphic novel series or something. Here's one thing. Yeah, here we go. I wanted to throw this out there in case David was interesting. David, you are interesting.
I'm always interesting.
And if you're interested, feel free to let me know because I could always tack it onto my order. This is Superman Red and Blue, and my app just popped up because I press and hold there. So Superman Red and Blue. I will read the synopsis here. This new series presents fresh new versions of the Man of Steel in this 2 signature colors of red and blue. Around the world, everyone knows that when they see a red and blue streak in the sky, it's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superman. To start things off, Academy Award-winning writer DC... I'm not going to mention all that stuff. It just goes on and on about that. But this is a 40-page, 1 of 6 mini-series here. And yeah, I'm trying to think. It just says all the creators' credits on here. So I'm looking for a story. Yeah, that first part was the story pitch for it. But yeah, it's a new little like Superman mini-series, which... like I said, just wanted to shout that out for David in case you were at all interested. Feel free to let me know. But yep.
All right. Yeah, I'll have to look at it and I'll let you know.
Cool. That will do it for the previews for Marvel and DC. So next week we will do part 2 of the giant catalog with the independents and all the other goodies that come with that. Okay. It's been quite the show, but we have one more stop on this crazy ride, and it's time to open up and jump into the pocket dimension. Save. And Kirby, do you want to kick it off first?
Sure.
Okay. Audio recording. We are here inside the pocket dimension where nobody else can see unless you are subscribers to the Crimson Cowl YouTube channel. If you're a podcast audio subscriber only, you can only hear all of the greatness that rests within the pocket dimension. I've got no other sell for it. Kirby, go for it.
Shelly picked up a couple things. She said they're for herself, but I don't believe that. But I've never played it. I don't understand the rules or anything, how they do it or whatever. But the HeroClix characters, got a few of them. A couple here. Got Koi Boy.
Nice. I didn't know he had one.
And Chipmunk Hunk.
I didn't know they had them. Awesome.
Awesome. That's super.
But that's not what I was happy about.
Oh boy.
We got Squirrel Girl.
Nice.
Same pose as a statue with the squirrels shooting outside.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
a little tippy toe.
Aww.
And of course, we got the cards that come with it. Then the other thing she picked up, which I haven't seen this one, so I was really happy to see this. But the Flurkin goose.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll take out of the box.
Yeah, that was part of the this is one of those that if you ordered it online, you weren't guaranteed which one you were going to get. And so upon its first release, it was basically a mystery, and I was happy to get this one as well.
Mine's kind of got like a see-through gelled cube. I don't know if yours is the same.
Yeah, it looks a little more solid.
Little sparkles on it and stuff inside it.
Yeah, it's kind of sparkly. Yeah, it looks about the same, yeah.
Yep.
You might just have better lighting.
No. I hate when they do this. It's a bobble.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is
like
a bobble.
bobbleheads. At least it's a stiff bobblehead, so it doesn't bounce around like most of them. But yeah, I like that just because the Flurkin just throwing its tentacles out.
Some of the bobblehead ones are weird. Like I know Ethan has the Han Solo and Carbonite, which is a bobblehead, which is so weird.
Yeah, that's a weird choice.
Because his
so it's just the head
kind of
move,
bobbles
or?
a little bit. It's
Maybe it's in the defrost mode when he's just like you just see his lips come out, so he's like slowly coming out. Maybe that's where the bobble is.
now that would have made sense, do kind of the coloration like he's thawing out, and then have the head bobbing. That would have worked. I can see that one. Maybe I got to make a custom pop.
There you go. Oh, cool.
That's it for mine.
All right, Katie.
All right. So, I yesterday beat the main storyline on Witcher 3, Wild Hunt. This is, it's been out for a few years, but this game is new to me, and I had a lot of fun playing it. It's been a fantastic escape from reality. It's very, very immersive. If you're not familiar with The Witcher, the premise is you are Geralt of Rivia. He is a monster hunter. There are a lot of monsters in this world. And in this game, you start out hunting monsters and very quickly get drawn into some world-spanning intrigue. A young woman named Ciri has gone missing. We find out that Ciri is very important to Geralt, and she is tied to some big end-of-the-world stuff, actually. I finished the main storyline last night. I do have the complete edition, so I have some DLCs. But wow, what a game. Before, I knew people wrote stories for video games, but I didn't really know what that job was. Like, how is there a story? Okay, I get it now. Oh my goodness. What an amazing way to tell a story, to convey emotion, bring the outside person into it. It's such an immersive game. It's so beautifully detailed. It's actually incredibly accessible because, like I've talked about on here, I have only recently started playing video games. I played this on the Switch, and it was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm very proud of myself, and I have to say, there were some twist endings that made me so emotional, but in the best way. Looking forward to playing the 2 DLC and expansion pack, Heart of Stone and Blood and Wine. But yeah, if you are interested in playing video games, maybe you've seen the Netflix show, or you've read the books, or you finished Game of Thrones and you're like, what now? Give The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt a try. It's very, very good. This is an 18+ game, but it is just so much fun. So yeah, I'm very happy about that.
I do have a question about the game. You said you played it for Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
You know, sometimes when you port games, you know, different systems will have different things and they'll change a couple things. For the Nintendo Switch, is it called the Switcher?
Oh, that's a good one. It should be. Yes. Okay. In our group, it should be. Yeah. That would be fantastic.
No
Yes,
further
that would be
questions.
so
Ron.
good. Call to your switcher. Okay, system of plenty. I tried.
Well, I didn't know what it was, so I think it was great. So,
Thank you.
all right, Jim, anything for the old Pocket Dimension?
Well, this week I got a product I ordered with part of my Christmas bonus. It's called Dirt Cheap Dungeons, and it's these little plastic modular walls. They come in different lengths. Some of them have doors that actually work, and there's some that look like broken walls, and there's these little top clip things so that you can put them together into all variety of shapes and come up with dungeons.
Nice.
And I have a little sample here that I put together.
Oh, that looks so good. Oh, wow. I can't wait to play with that. That looks great.
So yeah, and something for the players to look forward to the next time we get together.
Cool.
Yeah,
And
thank
if you
you.
had like a hamster or something, you could throw the hamster in there and have him. Just...
There you go, giant hamsters.
Let's do it. Do you think halflings could ride giant hamsters? I know they can't ride small hamsters, but can a halfling ride a giant hamster?
Giant space hamster?
Yes.
Unless it was one of the radioactive hamsters from a planet near Mars that Weird Al sung that song about. So.
Oh yeah. Halflings can't do that. We're not very good with radiation and lead poisoning. No defense against that.
But giant space hamsters are a thing in D&D.
Whoa,
Oh, you're
okay,
right. That's
well,
true. They are. I gotta get my monster manual.
The miniature giant space hamster, Boo.
cool.
And yeah.
David, anything to show off at all?
No, not right now. No.
You want to show off that X-ray robot number 2 that I see sitting on the shelf back there?
Oh,
No.
I've noticed that cover. It's very recognizable, so my eye kept catching it.
yeah, just some of the things that we've talked about in the store. We'll end up there. I'm kind of still organizing. I've actually made a lot of headway on getting things done. Just a few days ago, the place was a complete disaster, and now it's a lot better. I've got most of the things moved around where they need to be, and now it's just putting things where they need to go on shelves and things like that. So.
Cool. All right. The item I have here to close off the Pocket Dimension, as myself and Kirby often talk about, is Art and Franco. Oh yeah, comics and all that kind of stuff. So it's almost every single week now. We at least between the both of us have something Art and Franco related. And a couple weeks back, I contacted him and had an idea, and I asked him for a very small commission, in which he was very quick to respond to, and a very affordable thing. So I got that item in the mail. I had no idea what it was exactly going to look like, but I'm very happy with it. And it may be inspired by why I'm wearing a Superman shirt. But I had the famous cartoonist, Art Baltazar, aka George Clooney, draw me in a quick crayon sketch here, and he put that on one of his electric milk cards. Electric Milk is his his art studio, his company. And so he's got these little sketch cards that he does usually at like conventions and things like that. So I sent him a photo of us, which he said we were very handsome fellows back when I met him in 2019. And so yeah, he sent this in. And I thought it was kind of funny because the photo I sent, I wasn't wearing a Superman shirt at all. I think that was just his influence. Actually,
he was just thinking you should have been.
Yeah, I'm gonna just put it here. So here's my hands, and yep. Well, he's a big Superman fan, so I thought that like, yeah, he probably just threw that on there. So I figured I had to put the old Superman shirt on today. But yep, this showed up, a quick little caricature in crayon, and just had I just laughed when I opened this up, being like, yep, that's ridiculous.
That is so wholesome, though. I love that.
And then I had one more laugh because something else fell out of the envelope, in which was an autographed trading card for the famous cartoonist.
Oh.
So he's got his own trading card here. So I will put this right next to that Chip Zdarsky trading card that I got, where Chip is in batting pose, shirtless. So
nice.
So yeah, I'm really starting to collect my artist trading cards now. So. But yep, that was it for me on the Pocket Dimension, and I think that will do it for this giant-sized issue of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes and wherever you get your podcasts. If you want the video version to get a glimpse at these Pocket Dimensions items, as well as seeing the art that we show off in the stories and such, subscribe to Crimson Cowl Comics over on YouTube. We have another podcast, Under the Cowl. David, do a quick little pitch for that one.
Yeah, it's kind of all the stuff that we don't talk about during the club, we talk about under the cowl. So it can be anything from the latest pizza we tried to things that we just can't talk about on this podcast. You know, it's a wide variety.
Like Sexcastles. Oh wait.
So
we'll talk about the other stuff.
But started out in the old comic book days where it was just the conversations that were going on around the shop, and has evolved to just the conversations that we have now that we don't have a shop to talk to each other in.
Yep, that is Under the Cowl. Subscribe to that as well. And then speaking of Under the Cowl, there's another podcast that Kirby does. Want to give that pitch?
Under the Cowl of MS. It's basically becoming, who knows? A little bit of everything. Some episodes are comic and multiple sclerosis related. Some are just comic related. Just going all over the place. Might have some new ones coming out too.
Good. And so yeah, those are a bunch of different podcasts that you can check out and follow all of us at. So yeah, that will do it for this show. Once again, in the coming month, we will have the next issues of Inkblot and Batman: The Adventures Continue, as well as crossover, our current club picks for the discussion. All right. This entire time, I've been like an Ewok, but with rabies.
And kind of like a hobbit, I've been here and back again.
I've been eagerly waiting to go to the Sexcastle with the Washington football game after they win tonight.
I am Jedi Ambassador Katie Skywalker.
I want to be on the Washington football team.
To be continued.